Welcome back for more from our workshop in the 2021 NICE project.
I do want to, before we delve more into some other questions, just mention a little bit about our author,
Mhm.
Madeleine L'Engle, born in 1918 and passed away in 2007, was an American writer of fiction, nonfiction, poetry, and young adult fiction, including A Wrinkle in Time and its sequels, A Wind in the Door, A Swiftly Tilting Planet, Many Waters, and An Acceptable Time. Her works reflect both her Christian faith and her strong interest in modern science. L'Engle attended boarding schools in Europe and the United States, graduated with honors from Smith College. She pursued a career in the theater before publishing her first book, The Small Rain, in 1945. She married actor Hugh Franklin in 1946. She pursued various professions, store owner, choir director, and vowed to give up writing at age 40 due to rejections. And it just wasn't financially feasible. But a year later, she began writing A Wrinkle in Time. It was rejected 30 times, as I've mentioned,
Oh
30
my God,
times,
30.
before it was published in 1962. And her later professions included librarian and writer in residence. Great.
I
So
love that. She's the opposite of ignorance. She lived a life of learning and education
mhm.
and growing and growth, personal growth and everything. And I love that in some ways she failed a lot. You know, she didn't have like a one steady career behind the scenes for most of her adult life. She didn't get this book published. She had 30 rejections. I mean, I love that there's humanity in there as well, and that kind of speaks to that element of the faults. You know, you're not a perfect person, but you're a
Mhm.
whole person, even with your failures and your rejections and everything. So I love that she embodies, everything that's in this book. She really put herself in there in more ways than just, oh, these characters remind me of my family or are based on my family or whatever. There's more of her in this than we could possibly, understand, I feel like, just
Mhm.
knowing the little bit that we know about her. So, yay!
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to delve into it. I don't have the knowledge to make a conclusion, but how much of Meg is Madeleine L'Engle,
Right, right, yeah.
or at least was at one time in the past.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I would love, Alice, if you could put our quote up on the share
Oh, I can
screen.
do that. Yes, let me find my mouse button. I have to find my mouse. Stop this share and start a new share. I tried to make it pretty because I feel like the quote is so pretty. So,
Beautiful.
yeah.
And
So,
I was wondering, Deborah, would you be willing, because you have such an excellent reading voice, to read this for us?
You cover part of it.
Oh, I see if I can. Is that better?
No,
No.
no.
mm,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
how about
You can
that?
read it because the whole northeast quadrant is covered.
Huh, okay.
Is it
Okay.
uncovered now? Because I just minimized all my people.
I don't know.
Yep.
I see it so I can read it. No problem.
Okay.
Okay.
So it seemed to travel with her, to sweep her aloft in the power of song, so that she was moving in glory among the stars. And for a moment, she, too, felt that the words darkness and light had no meaning, and only this melody was real.
Oh,
Oh, we
that
all
Mm-hmm.
is
we all sigh.
gorgeous.
We all sigh. Oh, it's so beautiful. That's just real quick, I gotta say, Madeleine L'Engle is a beautiful writer and very poetic at some points in this book. Which speaks to the fact that she wrote poetry too. But I mean, some of the passages in this book are absolutely beautifully written. And I think we picked this one because out of all the ones that we looked at and loved so much, and we had a lot that we looked at from this book, this one just literally did what it says. It swept us aloft. It
Mm-hmm.
carried us away with the lyricism of these words. I mean, she's talking about a melody in this passage. There's music that Meg hears, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what this passage is about. But there was just something about this passage it just beautifully carried us away. And we were like, oh, it's a short passage. It's perfect. We love it.
So what's happening in this passage? Now, Alice, correct me if I'm wrong, but as I recall, this is where she is on the planet where Aunt Beast is.
Yes, she's with Aunt Beast. Actually, I think this chapter is called Aunt Beast.
Okay.
The chapter that this passage is from, chapter 11.
So there is a narrow escape from the evil planet.
Yeah.
And so Charles Wallace is in the clutches of it. He must remain behind. But Meg escapes with her father and with Calvin to a different planet where they take refuge. And Meg's been through kind of a harrowing experience. Negative thoughts have started to take her over. And so she has natural insecurities, but now they are super amplified. She's, lashing out at even people that she knows love her. She feels abandoned to the nth degree by her father, and that's coming out as bitterness even when he couldn't necessarily help that. And so in this planet, she receives healing from that spiritual wound, but also starts to come into her own self and self-acceptance.
I think she was like paralyzed too. I think she'd been through it was a terrible experience. It's prior to this passage that is some of the scariest stuff in the book. And this is part of her healing moments. Like you said, this is when she starts to heal, and Aunt Beast is a big part of that. And Aunt Beast is kind of the ultimate. She's not a W, she's not a Mrs. Who, Mrs. What's it, or a Mrs. Which, but she's kind of this even more of a presence, if that's possible, than the Mrs. W's. She's quite something.
Yeah, she's kind of in a nurse role, but also kind of in a clerical, an aunt role, that kind of, close family member kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And I love the conversations that take place when they are trying to compare the concepts of seeing, because this species doesn't have literal eyesight, but they can perceive things as they are. And so the idea between you can perceive something and see it that way, but it may not be accurate. But on this planet, they perceive things as they actually are, which was a fascinating concept.
We had several passages about that whole idea of seeing and not seeing, and what's true, what do you really see, what's the truth, and this one just seems so beautiful. We ended up picking this one, but there's just something about this one that just really struck the chord. Deborah, what do you think?
Wait a minute, I got a poem coming.
That's great. We have inspiration right on the spot. Yeah.
The difference between seeing and perceiving.
Yeah. Well, I love some of the
Which
phrases.
is the holiest.
The holiest. Yeah, you're right. The power of song. I mean, I don't know. I feel like even as a kid, I felt that music was so powerful, and for me, a positive. I mean, it was a powerful, positive thing. And this idea of music being able to carry you out of whatever your reality is. It's almost like an escape, right? And the only thing that's real is that melody, is what this is what Meg is experiencing, that all that bad stuff that she just experienced, the paralysis, the fear, the bad stuff that happened before her father tessered them out of that bad situation where they had to leave Charles Wallace behind. This is healing for her. This is the melody in the song is healing her, and it's taking her away from that trauma, I guess is one word you could use.
Great.
There's just so much magic in Madeleine's word choices, and even the way that she structures her sentences. There's just it allows so much weaving of the spiritual and intellectual all throughout. You can't say it's one or the other, because we need a new word that makes them equal and brings them together.
Yeah.
because she's tapped into it.
Mm-hmm.
That the words darkness and light had no meaning, and only this melody was real.
Mm-hmm.
It just, it's just the
And yet we
whole.
also feel like this is something that maybe you can't hold on to because it's for a moment. She too, for a moment. It's this moment, this powerful moment. And so I felt like as a human reader, this is a very human moment because we've all had moments where it's like a perfect moment. It's like, this is something I want to, it's like if I could only just bottle this and keep it forever, this is one of those moments that's so perfect and so healing and so whole. And yet every moment of our lives aren't really like that. We go through ups and downs, we have good days and bad days, whatever, and I feel like this was so smart of Madeleine L'Engle to put that word in here, or I guess it's two word, a moment, 2 words, that because it's that very fleetingness of it that makes it so precious, right? And it's also when you have moments like that, in a way you do hold on to them for the rest of your life. They may not, be uppermost in your thought process every minute of the rest of your life, but you always have that moment to cherish and lean on as a kind of a faith in good things and positivity, maybe. I don't know. That's just something that this passage always made me feel like, that there were those moments that carried you through, even after the moment's gone, but what you experienced carries you through. That faith in what you experienced carries you through. Does that make any sense?
It does. It does. I mean, it is describing transcendence.
Yeah, I guess so. You're right. Yeah.
Right. And I think that for a lot of us on our spiritual journeys, it isn't transcendent, holy moments all the time, but we do have those moments that then get us through the humdrum of the life.
Right.
And something that occurred to me much later after we were picking our passages, Alice, is this passage must have steeped somewhere in my brain between reading it in elementary, middle school, whenever it was, and 20, 30 years later when I was writing Waking Beauty, because I have a moment where the main character finds that truth where only the melody is the real thing.
Really, yeah. And you're such a wonderful musician. I'm not surprised that music is such a big part of that for you.
Right. And I think maybe it comes from, if not remembering the specific passage, that we all as artists have had that moment where our art is the only way to express that bigness in us.
Yes. Yeah, I agree with that. Join us next time as we continue with our workshop discussion for the 2021 NICE project.